Hey everybody, I'm here once again with another Ben 10 action figure review. So today's video kind of kickstarts the Omniverse aliens, or the ones that debuted in Omniverse at least. I did review a couple figurines from the Omniverse Toy Wave before this video, but these, like this Ben and these aliens, actually debuted in Omniverse. So today I have got Omniverse Ben, Feedback, Bloxx, and Gravattack. So let's get started on that with Ben. Okay, so here is Omniverse Ben. I think this is like the fourth Ben figurine I've reviewed by now. And this is the Omniverse version of 16-year-old Ben. They do make an Omniverse version of the 10-year-old Ben, but I do not have that one. I have the one from the original series, so I never bothered to get the one from Omniverse. But here we have 16-year-old Omniverse Ben. Articulation, his head does go all the way around, as do his arms up at the shoulder. And he's got this elbow joint here, same on both arms, and then nothing in the wrists. And then he has the hip joint here, so that goes up about that far. And you can push it back just a bit, it doesn't go back a whole lot there. And then he's got the knee joint, so that bends like that. And then nothing else in the legs, no ankle articulation or anything. One thing I'll point out with the joints and articulation on this figure, the arm ones are like so bulky and like very, I don't know, they don't look good, they're kind of ugly. Like you can see the joints here at the elbow. I don't know why they made them so bulky and obvious. None of the other Ben figurines have that problem, so it's not like they couldn't have, sculpted it a bit better. It's just, I don't know, like they didn't paint the screws that connect the joints, so they're just like brown. And I don't know why they didn't bother to paint that part, but it looks really obvious and pretty bad in my opinion. But moving on, that kind of leads into the paint and detailing with this figurine. Everything else looks pretty good. I think that they got the sculpt of Ben's face really well there. Obviously different looking Ben than we're used to with the different Omniverse art style, which I like. That art style definitely grew on me. But yeah, they did really well with his head there. His hair looks good. He's got all the little wispies in his hair sculpted, and the mouth here is sculpted. And then the body looks pretty good. I mean, all the other joints look normal, like the knee joints here and everything look normal. It's just these really painfully obvious elbow joints that don't look so good. There is the Omnitrix, which looks really good actually. They got the little tiny detailing on there. Goes all the way around. So they actually did a pretty good job there. He's got some pockets sculpted on his pants. And the shoes look really good too. They've got all the detailing on that with all those little indented lines. And there's his back. So really a good looking figurine, especially if they had made the joints normal. I don't understand what they were doing there with those elbow joints, but oh well, the rest of the figurine looks pretty good. So let me get him up here next to Feedback for some scaling. Now, I've mentioned this before a few times in some previous videos. I said that the scaling of these figurines kind of gets worse as we go. Like the original series figurines were scaled pretty good, then Ultimate Alien and Alien Force, they were kind of so-so, some of them were pretty good, some of them weren't that great. Omniverse has like the worst scaling of these figurines by far. They didn't bother to scale them or proportion them at all with each other. you'll see that basically every figurine in the Omniverse wave is the same height. They just used one standard height for every figurine, no matter how big or small the character or the alien is supposed to be. They just made it one standard height, and you can kind of see that here. Ben and Feedback, they are basically the same height. Feedback is actually really small figurine. He doesn't look that small next to Ben because Ben's kind of a small figurine, but Feedback is just rather short and small compared to the other alien figurines we're used to. But yeah, so Omniverse scaling, not too great. And then moving on to Feedback himself, we do have the 360 head movement, and despite having these long electrical ear parts, the head actually moves really easily. They don't get in the way. Sometimes when you have stuff on the head or shoulders or neck or anything like that, it kind of hinders the movement, but this moves just fine. The arms go all the way around, and once again, this piece here does not block that. It's a pretty bendy, not rubbery, but it's pretty bendy, so it's not gonna block any movement. So the shoulders go all the way around, and then we do have the elbow joint, and it looks like his tail just fell off as I was doing that. This tail is removable, so be careful. You know, if you're buying this secondhand, you want to make sure you got that tail. It's just a little piece, pops in there. But back to articulation, so he does have this elbow joint, and then nothing else in the arms. And he's got the hip articulation there, and that's about as far as it goes back. It just comes up to the tail. Won't go any farther, not because of the tail, but that's just as far as it'll go. It does go up about 90 degrees forward. And we've got the knee joint here, and then nothing else in the legs. Now, you know, sculpting, detailing, and everything on this figurine looks really good. For the most part, Feedback is just one color. Most of them is black. He's got that splash of white there. So not a whole lot of, you know, paint or detailing that can mess up on, but it does look really good. You can see his face sculpted there. He's actually got some teeth sculpted. And then they did all these electrical parts really well too. That's all indented here. And you can see the little prongs on the end of his ears, and you know, like the ones at the end of his fingers. They look really good. And then he's also got this one at the end of his tail that's pronged like the ears. So he looks really good. The figurine overall is, you know, a very nice figurine. I just wish he was a bit bigger. He just seems a bit small. But otherwise, it looks really good. So let's get him up here next to Bloxx. So here's Feedback next to Bloxx, and as you can see, it's, you know, they're about the same height. It's the same thing I was talking about. They're all about the same standard height. I think Feedback should be a bit taller, but it is what it is. So here is Bloxx. Bloxx does have 360 head articulation, so that goes all the way around. And then his arms do go all the way around at the shoulder, and then he's got a swivel here at the kind of elbowy wrist part. I'm not sure what part of his arm that is, but it swivels. It goes 360 all the way around, so it doesn't like move up and down or bend like normal articulation. It just kind of turns. It's the same for the other arm. And then his legs go all the way around also. So again, not the typical hip articulation we see. It's on a swivel here that goes all the way around, and then nothing else in the legs. So not a whole lot of articulation going on with this guy. Pretty solid, bulky figurine. The paint and detailing and sculpting on this figurine though is awesome. You know, whether you like Bloxx or not, I know he's not always the most popular alien because he's kind of kiddish and he looks like bright Legos, but the figurine here looks really good. I think, you know, they got all the detailing and the colors and the sculpt. I mean, you can see his face just looks really good. They got his nose sculpted and all these like Lego pegs look really good. This is just a bright, vibrant figurine, especially compared to a lot of other Ben 10 figurines. I think they did really good. You can see his stubby little legs here. And they sculpted the fingers on the fists. And there's his thumb. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good looking figurine, and honestly, Bloxx isn't one of my favorite aliens. But as for the toy, this looks really good. I like it. You can see all the line detailing and the different colors. I don't really have anything negative to say about this figurine other than maybe a little lacking on the articulation. But we tend to see that with these bigger, bulkier characters, so it's not really much of a surprise. But moving on, I will bring up Gravattack here. So this is really where you can kind of see the scaling issues I was talking about. Gravattack is in Omniverse. He's probably, you know, one of the biggest aliens, if not the biggest alien that debuted in Omniverse. Like, he's supposed to be really big, and they just made this figurine so small. I mean, look, he's just as tall as Bloxx, and then he's actually just as tall as Feedback. So yeah, just that's way too small for Gravattack, and I don't know why they did that. They've made different scale figurines in the past, but for whatever reason with Omniverse, they're just all the exact same scale, same height. It doesn't look very good in my opinion, but you know, it's better than not getting any figurines at all. So let's move on to Gravattack. No head articulation, which, you know, that's probably obvious. His head, like, is his body, so there's just not really any place to add that articulation. It's not really like he really has a neck or anything, so that's not really surprised, not really anything disappointing. That's just how the character is. The arms, though, are normal, so you got the 360 swivel at the shoulder, and then we do have the elbow joint, and that's it for the arms. Legs, they do go back about that far at the hip, and then they go up just a little bit, so not a whole lot of movement going forward at the hip, more movement going back, and then that's it. There's no knee joint, nothing else in the legs, they're just one solid piece. So a little lacking on articulation, but as I said, a lot of that just comes with the character. It's kind of just how he is, how he's built. The detailing and sculpt on this is phenomenal. Like, this is one of the best sculpts that I've seen in these Ben 10 figurines. Just all the details on little rocks, and you know, the spikes that he has on him and the cracks in the rock. And then all the detailing, like in these lines and on his, like, you know, they even sculpted there on his fingers. You can see the edge here, all that sculpted, and his little core on his stomach. All that's actually raised and sculpted, and it looks really good. All the details on his feet and his legs and his clothing. I just think this looks really good. They went all out. I mean, a lot of this could have been just painted on or not really sculpted as it is. I think it's just a really good looking figurine. I mean, his face there just looks so good. Look at all the cracks. Like, all these cracks and everything is actually raised and sculpted, and the teeth. Like, they just look really good. So what this figurine lacks for in size, although he's kind of small, they really did a good job on the detailing and the sculpt and everything else like that. So definitely a cool one to have in your collection. They're all cool, but this one is very good. So let me get everybody back up here. That's it for this review. So one other thing I wanted to mention, all these Omniverse figurines come with an accessory, which is typical, as you know by now, for Ben 10 figurines. They usually come with a little something extra. These all came with a little. They almost kind of look like the holograms from, you know, Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, which doesn't really make sense because the Omnitrix and Omniverse didn't have the holograms anymore. But they're little tiny mini figurines of the characters that are painted just one solid color, so they're not very detailed or anything. But they each do come with a little mini figurine of themselves. But that does conclude today's video. So my next video I will be reviewing Crashhopper, Kickenhawk, Topic, and Astrodactyl. Keep an eye out for that video. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys later.